Wagner. I'm the CEO of Emerald Health Therapeutics, EMH, traded in Toronto. And we are a company, we're a cannabis company, and we're preparing for the legalization of cannabis in Canada, which I'm sure you've all heard about once or twice before. This slide, this is the only science in the whole deck that I'll show you, but it's really actually kind of important. There's a system in our bodies. In fact, it's in every single body that has a spine, and it's called the endocannabinoid system. And there's chemicals that we have in our bodies that interact with this, and so does cannabis. And so you can think about cannabis as interacting with this system. And this next slide, which you probably can't read from the back, is the thing that got me excited about cannabis. I'm a scientist by training. And when I saw this, it's a list of a whole bunch of cannabinoids across the top, and a bunch of diseases down the side. And one thing that most people don't know is that most cannabis or most marijuana is not psychoactive. So the stuff that people smoke and you can buy on the street is psychoactive. But when you pull apart the components, you can get it to be non-psychoactive. And so that's very interesting for a lot of these conditions and a lot of these diseases. And because cannabis has been illegal for so long, we haven't studied this stuff. So as a pharmaceutical person, as a life sciences guy, this to me looks like greenfield opportunity to apply all this technology that we've had for so long, and we just haven't been able to use it in this space. And so that's what Emerald Health Therapeutics is applying pharmaceutical biotech technology to this space. The market's massive. Depending on whose numbers, Health Canada's put out some numbers, Deloitte's put out some numbers. All the numbers are actually considering that you take the black market and flip it over to the legal market overnight. And what it doesn't take into consideration is that there's a whole lot more to this market than just transitioning a black market into a regulated market. There's whole new conditions we can treat. There's whole new product categories. And by the way, these numbers, I mean, there's a $180 billion number on the bottom there for the global market. Most people, when they think about the cannabis industry, particularly in Canada, we only think about Canada. We don't think beyond our borders. But the real opportunity here is you do a good job in Canada, but move beyond the borders as well, because there's a whole lot more opportunity there. So we're a licensed producer under Health Canada. We've been a licensed producer for many years. We're one of the earliest. We're very well capitalized. We have extremely large production capacity. I'll take you through that in a minute. The sort of the show and tell part I'll show you some of our greenhouses. They're very, very, very impressive. And they're very large. And as a result of being large and us partnering with a company called Village Farms, we produce a joint venture. And this joint venture will produce, we believe, the lowest cost cannabis in Canada, under $1 a gram. And it's because these guys at Village Farms have been growing tomatoes for 20 years in these same facilities that we're retrofitting. They know how to deal with cost. They're competing against Mexico, growing tomatoes in an open field. These guys have figured out how to reduce cost extensively, so we have a real leadership in there. But ultimately, once we're growing low-cost cannabis, what's far more interesting is unique products and developing unique products with unique formulations that we will secure intellectual property on. And we're not going to be selling bulk cannabis to Germany or to Australia. We're going to be selling intellectual property to these people. Just like the pharmaceutical companies sell medicines to people, they don't sell raw ingredients. So we're going to be selling finished, patented, protected products around the planet. And we've done this a lot. The intro was, I've done this for 25 years. Somebody the other day referred to it as a quarter century, which made me feel a bit older. But I've launched 20, collectively, we've launched 20 different products all around the planet. We've raised close to $1 billion, not all for Emerald, but in our various capacities. And so we've got a lot of proven experience. So a very experienced team. I won't go through everybody, but you're more likely at Emerald to bump into a PhD or an MD than anybody else. We've got a great team of growers as well who have been growing cannabis for over 20 years. And so for 2018, we're really focused on maximizing our production capacity, finishing building out those facilities we're building, extracting products. Our belief is that initially the recreational market in Canada will be, a lot of people will be smoking pot. But very quickly, it's going to move to people consuming cannabis orally. through pills and oils and other formulations. And to get there, you need to extract, or somebody the other day called it juicing. So you need to juice the cannabis to get the goodness out of it, and then you can pull apart what you find. There's hundreds of different cannabinoids and terpenes inside cannabis, and you can split those apart and recombine them in all sorts of interesting, patentable ways. Which leads me into a branded new product launches. That's a big part of what we're going to do. We're going to sell dried flower, but we will also sell branded products. Distribution's a big deal this year. We're working with various provinces. We're working with various online retailers. We're working with some blockchain companies. So distribution is going to be a big part of what we're doing in 2018. This is an aerial rendition of a facility that we're building in Greater Vancouver. It's 500,000 square feet to start, 1 million after that. The 500,000 square feet should produce around 37,000 kilos of cannabis per year. This will be online and producing very shortly, certainly in time for the recreational market. And here's our second facility. The one, I don't know if you can see it, but it's labeled number 1. That is 1 million square feet of greenhouse. We are converting that right now. That facility will be up and running very shortly in this quarter. And at peak capacity, that facility will produce 75,000 kilos of cannabis per year. The other numbers on there, 2 and 3, are an extra 3.8 million square feet of greenhouse that we have an option to convert to cannabis. So if you converted all of that to growing, we could produce 300,000, actually it's more than 300,000 kilos per year, plus our Vancouver facility would take us up to 350, close to 400,000 kilos a year, which is more than half of the anticipated Canadian demand. That's just a quick shot of some of our products. We have dried cannabis currently. We have cannabis in oils, and we have some unique products in the market. I think it's been, well, actually this does a good job of it. So just a couple of examples of unique products. One is THC-A, which is a non-psychoactive cannabinoid. We're one of the only people to have developed this, and we're using animal and human studies to actually understand how the pharmacokinetics of this works and how well or not it's absorbed by humans, particularly for the treatment of pain and some other conditions. We do our research globally. As I mentioned, we're based in Vancouver, but our reach is into Europe and the United States from a scientific point of view. We've also developed through some genetic work a special plant that almost exclusively grows CBD, so not THC, particularly useful for people with pain and sleep. We've taken a majority ownership of a laboratory called Northern Vines, which is a licensed dealer. It's a horrible name for the kind of company this is, but what they do is they test cannabis from licensed producers. So you can imagine we're going from an environment where nobody's cannabis is tested except licensed producers to an environment where all that product that's currently being produced by the black market will shift to licensed producers, and all of it needs testing. So this investment is a bit of a picks and shovels investment for us. It's a great company. It's going to do some wonderful things for us. So that's it. That's my presentation. Thanks for sticking around. I'll hang out if anybody has any questions. Thanks.